Hey everybody, welcome to Level Pixel Level and part 3 of the night rigging video. Let's get right to it. Okay, let's keep going down the arm here. So I'm just going to shift click on this again, flip back to weight paint mode, and let's do the wrist right now. So I'm going to control click on the hand and just weight paint everything to the hand right now. Actually, I'll flip to edit mode and just select the hand, just so I can isolate it with the vertex option here. And actually what I'll do just to paint this is I'll turn off front faces only, just so I can sort of flood it. I know there is a flood option, but I'm just a little bit lazy as I'm sort of painting this. Okay, so for the fingers, it's going to be a fairly clean weight paint on them. I'll do this pinky finger first, and what I'll probably do is just actually rotate it out. Actually, I'll give it a curl, just so I'm painting it live, meaning that as I weight paint it, it's going to be going into the shape that I want here. So I'll click on this one, I'll go back to my vertex select, and as I do each finger, what I might do is even go to face mode and just select them in edit mode, so that when I go back to weight paint mode, it's isolated to those. If I wanted to as well, and actually I'm going to do this, I'm just going to hide everything except for that finger, just so that it's isolated and very easy to paint. So I'll select on the end of the finger, and I'll paint that first. I'll paint it 100% to there. It's going to look really weird as it's sort of going there. I'll probably do that again with my weight at 1, just so that when I paint it right away, it goes right to it, just like that. Now it's a bit of a mess sort of working through this, and it's getting very hard to see. So one thing I'm going to do is under object mode of the rig, I'm going to flip it to B-bone. These are all going to be really big right now, but I'm going to flip to edit mode and select everything. And if you do Control-Alt-S, you can scale this down. And this is just going to help me visualize the bones a little bit easier without having them in that weird shape. So I'll click on the rig again, shift click on my mesh, and go back to weight paint mode. Okay, I want to get this pose just a little bit less aggressive just as I'm painting. So I might even do something like this and just do the end first before I do anything else. I'll probably grab the upper finger first here. I'm going to actually just flood my way down, so I'll move this out and I'll go back to this option with the vertex. I'll just flood to that. I'm just going to subtract weights down the finger as I go. That's probably the easiest way to work with something like this. So here I'll put my weight to 0.5 and I'm going to flip it to mix here. I don't want to do add anymore because I just want to be sort of exact with how much weight I'm giving this finger piece here. Yep, that's working well. And I'll do 0.25 for this one right here. I could have dialed this in edit mode as well too. I kind of just enjoy the weight painting process a bit more. But yeah, I could have just selected these vertexes and done an assignment down here. I'll do 0.1 for this guy right here. And now I can just test that out. Yep, that's looking great. So I'll go down to this finger here. And I'm just going to flood down the rest of the finger first before I paint the knuckle area. So I'm doing a very clean weight painting on the fingers right now. If it was a more dynamic character that wasn't so low res, I might do something different. So I'll do 0.5 to this one right here. And then I'll do 0.25 to the one above that. And this is like watching paint dry probably. It's not the funnest thing to watch, but it is enjoyable to actually weight paint these as you work. I'll do 0.1 for this last row right here. And I'll just rotate that. And I'm pretty happy with that right now. So I'll do the last finger joint here. Again, I'll just flood down to the end first. And then I'll do 0.5 just to here again. And I'm just doing a very simple fall off towards the end of my fingers for this weight paint. I'll do 0.25 for right here. I may come back in here and just adjust this again. I think the shield and the weapon is actually just going to be blocking it, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, it's more just got to look nice in its main shape. He's mostly just going to be running and jumping and maybe falling, maybe a little death animation, and that's about it. Hopefully not a death animation, but... Okay, so that is working well. Okay, I'm going to quickly weight paint the rest of the fingers. I'll probably just speed up that part of the video because it's just a repetition of what I've done here. Alright, I'm done a rough weight painting of the hands, and I think I'll just check out the elbow now and see if I can get that working. So what I might do first is actually just flood this area to this arm here. So just go to edit mode and just select those pieces just to make sure I'm flooding that all to that arm there. So I have it right here as arm 1, and I'm actually going to weight paint that. I'm not going to use the assign method because I have auto normalize turned on, and if I click assign, it's just going to assign part of it to the spine as well too. Now I'm doing this in a really messy way. There's probably a better way to do this. This is just the way I prefer, just to get it locked onto that arm. Yep, that's looking good like that. I think I got everything. I can even zoom out and just do this if I want to flood it really quickly. So now I'll click on the lower arm here, and I'll just bend it forward as if it was the elbow joint going like that. I'll go back to this mode, the vertex mode, and just paint it to here. I'll probably get the pose out of here soon. It's going to get really tough in a minute to see what I'm painting. I'm just trying to get something rough in there, and then I'll start cleaning it up after that. So I'll zero this out back to its default, and I'll just paint this ring here. Going up the arm, I think I'll paint it at probably 0.5 there, just to get a rough weight along that elbow. I'm hoping that I don't have to keep going up to here, like that this part right here can almost stay static to the arm and not be included in the elbow bend. But I'll know a lot more once I add my control rig onto it. My plan for this to begin with is just to add a really rough weight paint onto everything, then add a control rig, then see where I want to finesse things as I start doing some animation testing. So I'm trying to get animation testing as soon as possible. That way I know I'm spending time where I need it, if that makes sense. Like, I could have weight painted those fingers for another couple of hours. If the shield and the sword are going to be covering it for most of the actions, I'm not going to worry about it. kind of goes back to that thing in animation, is only animate what's in frame. Don't worry about what you don't see. And then, so for rigging, I kind of do the same thing where I just kind of rig what we're going to be seeing in those animation tests that I'll be doing later. Okay, so that's working well for the arm. I think that's good for now. I just want to test this arm here. Yep, that's working well. And this clavicle here. Yep, I'm happy with that too. Okay, I'm going to move on to the foot now, and I'm going to use a lot of the same techniques I showed on the hands and the arms, just where I select things in edit mode and then just paint them to give a nice gradient. Again, I'm just doing a rough pass of everything just to get the character moving, and then I'll decide where I'll spend a bit more time. So what I'll probably do is fast forward through a lot of this, and then I'll come back to specific areas where I'll go in depth into more specific weight painting techniques. Okay, I'm going to pause right here and talk about one thing in Blender. Remember how I put this foot control at the bottom of the foot here? I'm playing around with it and I actually don't really like that. I don't really like the way that it's pivoting. It's got way too much of an arch going down and then inside it's just collapsing. So I could fix this with the weight painting, but what I'm going to do is instead go to the rig itself, flip to edit mode, and just move the bone. This is great in Blender. I can't remember if you can do this in Maya, but I always remember having a struggle with this where I had to actually unbind, move my pivots, then rebind. Now if I flip back to my weight paint mode, yep, my new bone location is right there, and I can try rotating it and try from that new pivot. And then I can just keep weight painting. So remember, the rig is only connected to the mesh through the modifier. The vertex groups live on the object, not the rig. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with the way that this leg is working right now. I'm just going to clean up a couple of things. I just want to fix this toe here. And I'm fairly happy with the way it's deforming right now. I do like this. Now, this is a metal character, meaning that it does have metal in his boots and everything. But I'm okay to sort of weight that to the character. Meaning that I'm okay if that has a little bit of bend and give to it. If this was a more 100% realistic show, I wouldn't do that. But you'd be surprised if you even pause a lot of those shows that have a lot of realism, of just how much they actually bend and stretch and squash the pieces to achieve the animation. Alright, this is looking cool right here. I'll probably just zero that out. Click on that and zero that out. Okay, I'm fairly happy with this foot, so I'm just going to continue up the leg. Here's where you can see that really nice bend in the metal. Yeah, I am actually bending the metal there. Once I see this in a walk animation, I might change that, or I might even push it more. I might even allow for him to bend more as he's kind of going through the poses. There are some problems here where he's kind of clashing through that geometry. Again, I'm going to wait until I sort of see it in an animation of whether I need to address it or not. What I'm really just trying to do is get a nice quick, almost like a base coat of weight paint on this entire character. So I'll keep going up the leg and the knee right now. Okay, so I have this knee right now, and I'm fairly happy with how it's looking. It is kind of colliding back here, but that's almost okay for a game. It's actually looking how the shin might actually compress, and I'm actually really liking the volume through the knee itself. So I'm just going to zero this out, and I'm going to point out another problem that I have and sort of how I would fix it. So I have all of these loose vertexes, where if I pull the leg out really far, you start to see this really, really bad stretching right here. This is because stuff on the left side is looking at the right side. This is probably more just to me being a bit of a lazy weight painter, but stuff from these bones are looking over here, and stuff from here is looking over here. The way that I would solve this is probably to select on one of the foot bones on this side and just subtract it from this side with 100% value. So I'll go to my tool and I'll go to subtract. I'll put everything at 1 and 1, and I'll just subtract from there. That should mirror over to the other side as I do that. And then I'll just try some of the other bones over here, like the toe or the leg. Yep, there's the other one. So just subtract that. I'll just try to find out where that's looking at. Actually, I bet you that is looking at the spine. Yep, that's looking at the spine right there. So I'm just going to subtract that right back to its base. That's because in the initial pass, I did put things to the spine at 100%. Now I can test out that leg, and that's working a lot better. So with the knee, as I mentioned, yeah, I did do that really nice soft fall off there, so I could get that bend as it comes back. Again, the boot is going to go into it, and I might just weight paint a little bit of the boot into the upper leg, just so it does deform a little bit. But then coming this way, it's going to stretch, but this is a very rare pose for the foot to come up like that without the knee bending, so I'm really focused on more the direction of the joint rather than worrying about poses that might never happen. So I'll do that right now. I'll just bring back all my geometry, and I'll grab the boots and just expand them, and this body part here. What I usually do is Control I to select everything else and hide it, and then I'll go back to weight paint mode. I'll hit V to go to vertex edit. Actually, I'll go back first to the regular mode. Yeah, I am just hitting V to select these two, or go between these two, but then I'll Control click on this bone so I have it selected, hit V again and select everything. So I want a very, very light weight to these vertexes right here. So what I'm probably going to do is actually select them just to make sure I don't paint anything else outside of here. I'm holding shift down on my keyboard and I'm left clicking on the vertexes here. I could have done this actually in edit mode as well too, where I could just select these and these and then do go back to weight paint mode and they're selected. So I'm going to use an add brush. I'm going to use a very, very light setting. Actually, I'll do mix first. Sorry, I'm going to do about 0.25 and 0.25 on my strength. And I'll just dial these in. And I might just do the back. I actually really like the way that the front is looking. So I might just keep that the way it is. Again, I hit V to go back to this view, and hit V again, and I can test out that leg. That's already looking a lot better. It's giving me a lot more range as well with that leg. You know what though? I just want to push it a little bit more. So I'm going to go up to 0.5, hit V, click back on this bone, hit V again, and just push it back down to that value. And I'll do the 2.25 as well, actually, and I'll just do these two nodes right here, and these two right here. Again, this is armor, so it's going to have a little bit of a weird look to it, because I am bending metal, but it's a cartoon. It's supposed to bend. Or it's a game model. It's going to be a little bit wacky, so I think it's okay if it does have a bit of a bend to it. Okay, so there is a little bit of a problem here where the one parts haven't been dialed back. So I'll flip back to edit mode, and I'll just dial those in. I believe it was 0.75 for these ones here. And I don't want to paint the other ones here. So what I'm going to do is actually flip back to edit mode and just select that top ring there, and then go back to weight paint mode just so I can get in there. And this usually doesn't take too long. I just got to make sure that I can actually find the vertex that I want to paint. It needs to come down a little bit more, actually. There we go. And I'll just do this one in here too, just to keep that shape. And I'm always just looking for really nice shapes. And it's just a slow process to paint this as I go. All right, let's test that out. Okay, that's working a lot better. Now you might notice that the leg is coming through the boot. I could try to weight paint this away, but instead I'm actually just going to hide these pieces. And I'm just going to add a shape key. And I'm going to just double click it here and call it paint fix. Dial it up to 1. And these pieces here, I'm just going to shrink in. So I'll just grab these, I'll flip to individual origins, and I'll just scale them in. I'm never going to see them anyway, so I'm not too worried about if they collide, and that just saves me a lot of weight painting. Let's test that out. Yep, that's working a lot better. Okay, so I'll just continue with the hips now, and I'll start working on this piece right here. Okay, so I'm just about done my first pass. I did run into a couple issues on the leg. One thing I'm probably going to do is add another bone right here and right here just to control this flap right here. Again, remember in Blender, you can add bones dynamically at any time. So I can just grab this bone here, duplicate it forward. I'll just switch the direction as well too. Let's grab this down. I can just move this back. I can duplicate this back as well too for my back piece right here. I can quickly rename these too. Let's call it flap 01.001. So we'll call it flap 01. And let's call the back one flap 02. So let's flip to object mode and click on my mesh and go to my vertex groups and just add 2 new ones. Just type flap 01 and flap 02. That's it. It's that easy to add new bones to your rig at any time. That's what's really nice about Blender, is it's very dynamic in the way you can just add these pieces. So I'm probably just going to isolate this piece here and hide all these. I'll just keep weight painting up this piece. Alright, so I finished these pieces, and I got some problems right here. I've been running into this a little bit where I just tend to overpaint. So what I usually do is just grab a subtract brush and just subtract it from there, and I'll do both sides. Kind of like fighting with the 2.83 or 2.9 interface, but I think I'm getting used to it. Now I'm just going to continue up the pelvis and the spine and sort of work my way back towards the head, and then I'll start testing everything out just to see how everything's moving. Alright, so I have a pretty good weight paint across everything. I just did a little pose test as well, just to see how far I can start pushing it. I'm liking the way it's working. He doesn't have a lot of range right now, and I'll probably have to come back through and just do another pass on all these weights. So I'll probably do that in the next video where I'll just go into a bit more detail on certain things. Like I'd like to look at the hands again. I'd like to take another pass at the spine as well. I'm fairly happy with how it turned out, but it's just, I want to see if I can clean it up a little bit. For most shapes it's going to work out, but if I start doing something extreme, it's going to start looking really wacky. The legs are okay as well. I'm fairly happy with them. These little hanging bits right here, I'm happy with, but I might have to change a little bit. It might come down more to the rig as to where I constrain them. But, so in the next video, I'll just do a cleanup pass on all the weight painting. Big thank you to my patrons for supporting me in this video. It's because of you guys that I can continue to make these videos. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye!